Okay, so last time we left off, and you should have a workable or working salt master and a minion or two, hopefully two, and then we can explore further. So hopefully they can all ping at this time, and after they ping, let's take a look here. So we did a salt. Remember, this is going to target everything, and target both of our minions, and run the test.ping module. Okay, so that's where we should be. We can also do other modules, such as let's run the ls-l using the command.run shell command, and we'll do ls-l/etc. Just a reference to the command structure again. The asterisk refers to the target where this is going to apply to. We could even put a minion name there or some other function. I'll show you some advanced targeting in just a second. pkg.install refers to the module function that we're going to use, and there was a bunch of functions available certainly like in Ansible. We can go look up a lot of different modules and whatnot that are available to us. These are actually states, but a state is dependent on a module. So, and then cowsay is the argument to the function. So this, if I did this, it would install it would do apt install cowsay on all my Ubuntu machines. Okay, but we don't want to use these raw shell commands back here. We don't want to use this command.run everywhere. We want to use these execution functions like disk.usage or network interfaces. So if I do salt against star disk.usage, it would go show me the disk usage, or use that module to gather whatever statistics that module is supposed to do. Same thing with network interfaces, and you go look these up, but we're not going to use the one-off command line functions like this. We're going to try to build ours into states, but these are built on these underlying modules. Well, let's go back to targeting for a second. So an asterisk can refer to all hosts. If I just want to, let's just target those hosts that my minions, like salt-1. If you remember, my salt key-l showed me the accepted keys. It doesn't show my running minions. I'll show you how to see what minions are actually running. This shows me the keys for which I've accepted minions that I've accepted keys for. So I'm going to target salt-1 or salt-2, for example, and it would just give me that particular minion. So we can target based on minion. We can target even more fine grain, and that's actually what they call it. We're going to target based on a grain, and all the machines that are running the Ubuntu OS, I'm going to run the test.ping module. I'll do that again in a second. I'm talking about grains in just a minute. Now, for the most part, we are going to be writing some YAML files wherein I can check these files into version control and do configuration management, kind of like we did with Ansible. Well, very similar to what we did with Ansible, in fact. Anyway, we're going to describe that structure now instead of just using these one-off functions. So the first place that we will start, and the documentation, there's a ton of documentation here. I'm going to just talk you through the way you can get this working, and there's a lot more advanced configuration to delve into if you want to. But the first place we're going to start off is the top file. I would say the top file is analogous to the Ansible inventory file. What are we targeting, and what playbooks should we run on there? Now, they're not called playbooks in Salt, they're called states. But this needs to be placed in a directory srv salt top.sls. So when on your master, you won't even have those two directories, pillar and salt. You'll have to create both of them. And so I'm going to go into serve salt. And then we will create a top file. Here's my top file that I've created. And a top file, it just identifies the target. So all of the minions, we're going to apply the common state to. Just the minions that start with NS, we're going to apply the NetTools state to. To apply a state, we're going to type a command like salt, and then the minions we want to match asterisk state.apply. This one, if I do asterisk, is going to run through everything because everything's going to match in there. If I just wanted to target this NS whatever, we would just do that, So let's look here. Here's my salt file, an example. So I also said base. Everyone's going to get this common state, and then only this particular minion is going to get the following states here. So we need to talk about states. But before I do that, let's go salt and asterisk state.apply, and it would go through and apply. Since we've done Ansible before, it's going to run the playbook. Okay, so state.apply. That's kind of like the same idea. Okay, so what is a salt state? Well, I have a bunch of state files, kind of analogous to playbooks again. Each of these states is going to look something like this. We're going to give it the ID. They call it an ID declaration, state declaration, PKG, and then a function declaration. So this is the YAML file. We have two indentations after each line. But how do we know? It's interesting. How do we know what package to install? Well, it's right here on the first line. So basically, it's going to apt install Apache from this one. Here's another example. Remember, you put all these in /srv/salt. So here's all mine. I've created a bunch of state files, and they all end with the extension SLS. Let's see. Let's look at my common one. So here's my common one. I want to install Vim on each of these. Now, I'm going to show you two different ways of doing this, but this would install Vim on all of my machines. Okay, and you can here I can. And you'll see a couple different examples, and I'll try to clarify that in the slides as to when do I put just the package name up here and when do I reference the name down here. And in the end, it doesn't matter. As long as you do one or the other, you should be fine. So here's an example of remove Vim. So pkg.removed, and the package name is Vim. This didn't print out great, but let's look at, see if I can fix that real quick. Okay, so here we are, I fixed them. So here's another example of a salt state. This is an example that would create a directory if it didn't exist. So both of these do exactly the same thing. Notice up here on the top line, on this one, I put the name of the directory it should create. And this is the module or the function that we're using, the file.directory, the user and group that will own it, the mode it should be set to. Now here's the exact same way of doing it with a little bit different syntax, and you can do whichever way you want. So here I put the directory name up there, and the file.directory knew it should create that directory based on the first line. Now here on the second example, I just created some random string or description. I'm going to create my new directory. Everything else is the same except for I added this name argument. And this would be passed in to the file.directory module to create that directory. So I don't care which way you do it, and this would work the same on any of our states. You can either, here's another example, I could either put the name of the package here, Apache2 pkg.installed, or in the case of Vim, I could do, I'll just write some description like install Vim, and then here's the actual package name that I want installed. The other thing on this particular one, I also want to install Apache, but then I also want to make sure that it's running, just as an example. So in this particular case, I couldn't put Apache 2 up here because they already had one task, if you will, or one state that was named Apache 2. So I had to actually do it this way. I had to give it some other identifier here, and then I could pass in the name of the service that I wanted to make sure it was running. So either way. here's an example of how I might create or delete a user. So, and once again, we're using the user.present module. Tom is the user we're going to make sure is present. We're going to pass in these values. Here's an example of Pete, user.absent. Once again, you could do it in a longer format we could actually say, create a new user, and then I could use a name argument to pass in if I wanted to do that. Let's take a look at some of those, and let's see right here. So here's my user, Tom, user.present. I'm going to go into my top file, and this is where I'm doing my user. In fact, let me just delete out these other ones, and let's do it on Salt2, since I don't think Salt2 has had this done to it yet. And then we can do a state.apply, and it would go through and see, oh, well, it looked at the first one, the common one. You can see it was trying to install Vim. That was the common one. But then I got down here. Oh, I've already installed Vim there, common here. I'm going to make sure Tom is created, and it goes and does that. And I can just go over to my host and just count out Etsy password, and you can see that Tom exists. And okay, so if I had a user called Pete, let's just go over here and add a user called Pete. And make sure he exists. So Pete does exist. I'm going to run this again, and it should remove or make sure that user is absent for, and we can see that something did happen. Something was changed. There was one that was changed. Come back over here. Cat out Etsy password. Pete is gone. Great. So that's how that one works. Some other random stuff. To list our minions that are currently running. So we're going to do salt to manage minions.up, or manage.up, I'm sorry. Manage.up, address already in use. Pause for a second. Okay, I have to make sure I'm typing the right command. Salt-run manage.up. Not salt-master manage.up. Salt-run manage.up. Shows me these minions are currently up and listing. So rather than the other one was a salt key -L, that just shows what keys we've currently accepted. Doesn't tell me the state of those minions, but salt-run manage.up tells me if they're up or not. Okay. Let me pause there.